I asked TikTok to tell me what their favorite video game OSTs were, and I was not expecting to pop off in the way it did. I should have known better, but I did not know better. Essentially, what I've been doing on TikTok is I've been asking people what their favorite video game OST is and listening to the soundtracks in my own time and ranking them out of 10. Long story short, I like to listen to video game OSTs while I'm driving to work because it gives me something to listen to. And I really like listening to soundtracks either of games that I have played or games I haven't played. And if it's games I haven't played, more often than not, it encourages me to actually try out the game if I'm able to. So consider this video series as a compilation of all of the TikToks I have made in each part of this compilation series, just because I don't want to have to re-record them to upload to YouTube or do like a lot of fancy schmancy editing to do a YouTube version and a TikTok version. So what you're watching is a compilation of all of the videos I've made thus far. You can check out the timestamps below to find the game that you want to see me talk about. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you agree with my rating, which you don't have to. It's everyone's favorite video game OSTs for a reason. They may not be my favorite. And I hope you enjoy my thoughts and feelings on these. Okay, so I have listened to South of Midnight's OST already because when I found out Olivier de Riviere, who is the composer for the game, and I probably pronounced his name wrong, was the composer for the game, I was super, super excited to listen to the music, even though I was planning on playing it, but like I didn't end up playing it yet. And I love his music. I'm a huge fan of the Plague Tale series, primarily because his score for Plague Tale is so, so good. I could probably do like a whole like dialogue and dissection of the Plague Tale series, but alas, that's a YouTube video for another day. But with South of Midnight, I don't think for me it hit super hard because I haven't played the game for myself. I've seen other people play it, but I haven't played it for myself. I'm frankly not interested in playing the game merely because of the combat stuff. Like, it just doesn't seem fun to me, though the overall story seems really compelling and interesting, especially with Southern folklore. But the music by itself, if you haven't played the game, doesn't hit as hard, and his style of composition is very much based in, from my understanding and from what I take away, it's ingrained in what's going on in the scenes of the game. So if you're not overly familiar with what's happening in the scene or what you're doing, the music kind of gets lost on you in a way. And I think that's what's happening with me with South of Midnight, because I haven't played the game. I've seen some snippets of it, but I have not played it myself. I'm not going to say that the score is bad. It's not technically good. It is good. It's great. The score itself is really good. It just doesn't hit that hard for me personally. And I think it's because I haven't played the game and I don't intend on playing it, but I will be trying to find like a full playthrough to actually still live the experience of playing the game so I can have the context of why the music is the way it is. Okay, chat, it's story time. And I'm gonna preface this by saying it's gonna be a long video, so get comfy, get a snack, and let's go. Hold on a second, I gotta get my story time crafting diamond art thing ready to go so that I can actually focus on telling the story. Okay, so once upon a time, I was in high school, if you can believe it or not, and my best friend at the time, she gifted me for Christmas. This was circa 2015, 2014. And she gifted me a Steam card as a Christmas present. And she gave me this gift card and was like, you are buying Undertale with this gift card. And I'm like, what is an Undertale? And she was like, it's going to change your life. And for context, around that time, I wasn't really super into gaming. I watched a lot more Let's Plays than I did actual gaming, especially because the people I watched game were horror streamers. They played a lot of horror games, and horror is not my vibe, so I enjoy watching the content rather than playing it. But I had played a few other indie games and also AAA titles at this time, and it was primarily on a Nintendo DS 3DS console. So she gives me this gift card, tells me to buy Undertale, and I buy Undertale. And it did change my life. When I say this game changed my life, I don't mean it in like the way that people will say like, oh, this game, this music, this band saved me from like a very dark place, mentally speaking, or in my life, or in anything like that. I mean it in the way of I was going to college to be a music teacher or a musician. I didn't really have a lot of like things that influenced me musically. I mean, I listened to bands, I listened to that type of stuff, but I didn't have anything that like had a pull on me and influenced me, right? And then Undertale came along, and when I tell you, I had, because it still technically exists, I don't really post on it anymore, a YouTube channel where it was dedicated to like all of my music arrangements. A good amount of them are Undertale themed. I actually just looked it up under my old channel, and looks like I did 12 in total, which spanning the 4 to 5 years that I actually maintained this channel and was uploading it to it frequently, that's a lot of videos about Undertale. I think for me, when I came to making these YouTube videos, like, of course, I think everyone, a good majority of people who post to YouTube are hoping that they have that one video that takes off and they start getting sponsorships and they can make content creation full-time, right? So for me, a lot of it was partially that, but also I wanted to challenge myself. I loved transcribing music and figuring out what parts go where, which makes it a whole lot easier when you have perfect pitch, which means you can pull the notes out of thin air and you know exactly which note is playing when. So that makes transcribing a whole lot easier. And I really enjoyed figuring it out all out by ear. And I never intended it to be like a flex of like, oh, look what I can do. It was more of like, I loved the music that much to try and figure it out. And I think a part of me was always like, man, I wish I could be a composer as good as this, which I know in my heart of hearts I could if I really wanted to, but as of right now, like, I'm still very much burnt out on playing music, arranging music. Like, if a song is good enough to grip me to the point where I am going back and like actually trying to transcribe it so I can play on my piano, then oh my god, that song is amazing, which has happened once since I graduated grad school. But the long story short about Undertale's soundtrack is that it really did define me as a musician first and foremost, but I think also as a gamer. And of course, as a musician, like, it gave me inspiration. It gave me something to do in my downtime beyond just playing Minecraft alone in my freshman dorm room. It gave me something to do and to look forward to. I loved this game so much and the soundtrack so much that I made a trio out of the music in the game. And what I did for this trio was I took myself, my best friend, and our other friend at the time in high school, and I asked them each, give me your 5 favorite soundtracks for Undertale. Like, I don't care if there's overlap, give me your 5 favorites. And musically, I played piano and clarinet, but for this instance, I played piano. My best friend played clarinet. Our other friend played French horn. And I turned it into a trio. And I ended up playing this trio for my senior recital of undergrad. Like, here's me in senior year of college playing this trio with 2 of my friends. Like, it was awesome. Like, I cannot over or understate how much Undertale's music has been impactful to who I am as a musician and ultimately as a person. I don't listen to the soundtrack as much anymore just because I've listened to a lot of other gaming soundtracks, but every time like a soundtrack comes up on Spotify, I usually listen to it. It very much depends on the mood though. If I'm driving to work and traffic's very heavy, like maybe I'll throw on like Snowden or some shit. But other than that, like Hopes and Dreams and Save the World live rent free. The one hotel song that is like super fast and upbeat where it's like, I can't believe this hotel is like this bad. They didn't even leave a mint on my pillow. Whatever the title is, it's hilarious. I just can't quote it verbatim. Also lives rent-free in my brain. Megalovania, banger, lives rent-free in my brain. such good music, and Toby Fox is a brilliant game designer and also just as a composer, generally speaking, especially with when you go musically looking at the different themes and how they translate across the game and how they're reused, which is just brilliant. Chef's kiss. Like, when I figured that out, like, I was like, holy shit, this is insane. This is so fucking good. With all of that being said, I think if I had to rate it out of 10, I think I would give it a 9 out of 10. Not a solid 10 out of 10, just because of, for me right now in life, I don't often find myself seeking out to listen to Undertale in the way that I am seeking out to listen to other music or other game scores that I'm like, oh my god, the song is stuck in my head. I need to go listen to it right now in order to just like live inside the music. But it is still one of my favorite OSTs probably of all time, just because there's so many good tracks. It has that sentimental value. But at the end of the day, I kind of blame Spotify a little bit for this because their shuffle system sucks, TM, and sometimes gives me like 5 Undertale songs like back to back to back to back on my playlist. I'm like, why are we doing this? This is not what I'm looking for. But Undertale will always hold a special place in my heart, and I'm very excited to play Deltarune and to see what music is in Deltarune. Also, speaking of Deltarune, I need some advice. So I started playing Deltarune many, many years ago when Chapter 1 had just come out. And I have yet to go back to it because in that time, both hard drives on that computer failed. I changed computers like 15 times, never ended up re-downloading it. And now with Chapters 3 and 4 being out, I have 2 questions for the Undertale Deltarune fans in this premises. Number 1, is Chapter 4 the end of the game? Because I always tell myself that if I'm going to play a game, especially if I'm going to stream a game, because Deltarune is a game I would like to stream, because I never ended up streaming Undertale because I was in high school. I didn't know what streaming was. I want to play the full game when it's all released. So that's question number 1. Is this the full game? Question number 2, which I think this is going to be a very easy question. Do I wait to play the game, then listen to the music, or do you all give me a pass to listen to the music first? Or if I listen to the music first, is that going to ruin my experience playing Deltarune? Because if it is going to ruin my experience, then I'll wait on listening to the music until the entire game is out and I've played the game. So, thanks for that one, friends. I sob in my brain every time I listen to this track. I don't remember, it's been 10 years since I first played Undertale. I don't remember my first reaction to playing it. Honestly, I was a little silly TM when I was younger, so honestly some of the music stuff may have gone over my head, and I was not as emotional as a person as I am now because I'm much more vulnerable and in tune with my emotions. But this track is very sentimental to me because it's one of the tracks I did transcribe for full parts, so like exactly how you hear it, I did transcribe it. I had to actually transcribe percussion, which was one of my first times actually transcribing percussion and trying to figure out how to do that in Finale, and it was a shit show because I didn't know anybody at then. I was like a freshman in college when I started transcribing this piece of music and finishing it, and I just didn't know any of the percussion people. I wasn't familiar with them, so I didn't feel comfortable asking, like, hey, I need help trying to transcribe something into Finale as a percussionist. Like, what do you recommend doing? How would you transcribe this? And it's just such a beautiful piece of music, and as you pointed out in your comment, it does layer on top of one another, and I love music that does that, especially because it's layering multiple different themes or leitmotifs, as we would call it in music theory. It's layering all of these motifs and leitmotifs on top of one another, specifically the 2 main ones, or like what I would describe as the main themes of the game. So you have the ba-da-da, ba-da-da, that's one of like the main themes, and then you have the ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. That's like 2 of the main themes, and they layer so well on top of one another. And again, like I said in my Undertale opinion about the OST, generally speaking, Toby Fox does an amazing job of utilizing themes across the entire game of Undertale specifically, because I haven't played or heard of Deltarune yet, he does such a good job of taking the same piece of music and reusing it multiple times in different contexts, and also almost like camouflaging it in a way. And basically when this piece plays, you're basically reliving like all you just went through as the main character, which I know the main character has like a canon name, I just don't remember it off the top of my head right now. And it just works so well. It works so well. It is just so good. It's up there with one of my favorite tracks from Undertale. I can't believe I forgot about it when I was talking about my Undertale OST, but it's such a good track. And one day I really hope to, on my YouTube channel, do kind of more of a deep dive into the 24 key signatures in Western music and emotion and how they're kind of connected to one another, and use video game music as an example. And with this track from Undertale specifically, before the key change especially, it gives that sense of like almost like finale conclusion in a way, and like reminiscing and reflecting, which I'm kind of curious if y'all felt that way or if the track made you feel differently. Like, I would love to know that information, just because the way we all experience music is so different, because we're all bringing, like, even though we're all playing the same exact game, we could all feel something different based on our own lived experiences. Yes, absolutely agree. 10 out of 10. It is an absolute banger on the Undertale soundtrack list. It's so good. Definitely one of my favorites from the Undertale OST for sure. Purposely wore my new Megara shirt in honor of this video.
Well, ain't that right, Serby?
Yeah, Hades is a solid 8 out of 10, at least. Definitely not a 10 out of 10, but probably not as high as Undertale, but I mentally can make the argument to myself that it could be a 9 out of 10. I love the Hades soundtrack because it balances the acoustic parts and versions of songs, and then you have your more rock and roll version of those songs, which matches really nicely with what Zagreus is doing in the underworld. It kind of always matches like the intensity of the fights in some ways, because like, to be fair, it's been a hot minute since I've played Hades. I need to go back to it just to finish out some achievements and stuff, and also mentally prepare myself for whenever Hades 2 is fully released. It definitely, if I remember correctly, there's definitely moments where the electrified versions of those same tracks play during key moments of fights, which I love music, specifically video game music, that times itself to what is happening in the environment around you. Of course, you have like a couple tracks in Hades where you have Eurydice and or Orpheus singing, which is also really fun. I didn't finish Eurydice and Orpheus's questline yet, and if you hear sizzling, that's because I'm cooking dinner in the background. But I want to finish it because I want to see how that storyline ends, among other things. But I really like when they sing together, and Orpheus's song that he sings, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, where he's like, "Don't look back." It's just so catchy. It's so catchy. And one day I will do music lyric analysis of these tracks, maybe one day. I think my favorite track overall is the music that plays when you're, as Zagreus, are wandering around in your home with Hades and just wandering around, looking around, going to talk, chat with people, and then the music that kicks in when you actually go into Tartarus. That is probably my favorite track because I think about it probably the most often, but definitely Hades, 8 out of 10, highly recommend. I wasn't actually going to play Hades until I saw another person stream it, and I'm like, wait, I want to get ahead of you because like I want to not get spoiled. And it's actually the first roguelite I've ever played. It's actually pretty friendly to those, in my opinion, who haven't played a roguelite before. And the story keeps you hooked enough, to me at least, to keep playing it. I think I would have given up on it if I wasn't super invested in the story. And also, because Zagreus is a cutie patootie, and Thanatos is a cutie patootie, and like half of the gods are cutie patooties, at least to me. They're all hot in their own way though. But But yeah, solid 8 out of 10 for sure. Highly recommend it. I will not play Hades 2 or listen to Hades 2 until the full release. So I will give my opinion on those tracks once Hades 2 is fully released. I had to wear my new long sleeve Cult of the Lamb shirt to make this video. Also, look, it has like all the little like animals on the sleeves. Fangamer just makes the best merch. So I think for me, Cult of the Lamb soundtrack is like a 6 out of 10. I will say, generally speaking, that the soundtrack is really, really well done. The composer of Cult of the Lamb, Riverboy, may they rest in peace, they did a really good job of personifying the game within music. And what I mean by that is that if you ever hear like vocalizations within the songs or the pieces, or like something singing, because it's not like as if a human was singing, right? It's what I would imagine the cultists, which are animals, how they would sing along or like chant or like do songs to like praise the lamb, essentially. It's almost like they personified the animals in music, which I think is really, really cool, and it really matches the tone and the vibe of the game. And when I think of the music, and the music that comes to mind in my head is like the music that plays around when you're, I think, in the camp, or when you're, yeah, it's primarily when you're in the camp and like you're building or like maintaining the campgrounds, essentially. It's like a light vibe and like almost like a playful vibe, but also like not super like light and ditzy in that way. And then the music for the other areas, I don't remember them as much, and it's been a while since I've listened to the full soundtrack, but I don't remember them as much. But I remember like they really did set the vibe of like you are going and like battling and fighting things and foraging and doing all the things you need to do. I think if I were to give like my favorite soundtrack, which I don't remember off the top of my head, I'll probably put text somewhere saying what the name is, but it is one of the tracks from the Sinful DLC where they added sex into the game. I don't know, it's something about those, like there's two in particular I think that just like I really, really liked, because I think they're like the main theme, or like the main campground theme, because it's the theme that plays like when you have a baby or a child like wandering around and stuff like that. And it's like a variation of the main theme, but it's not the main theme of the campground area. And I really like it. It's just really cute. And it also matches, again, the vibe of like having a kid around. So it very much matches the vibe of the game. Coming back in here after I did my initial recording for that video, because I was kind of struggling to capitalize what I wanted to say. And I think what I wanted to say was that the music for Cult of the Lamb is really good. It matches the theme of the game. It matches the style of the game. Like, I cannot picture the Cult of the Lamb soundtrack sounding anything different. It sounds exactly how it needs to sound, and it fits the aesthetic of the game. For me personally, it's just, not to say that it's not memorable, and to be fair, it's been a hot minute since I've listened to the entire soundtrack, and I need to go back to it because I notice it's not on my video game list of music in my playlist. But it is a really good soundtrack. It's just, for me specifically, it just doesn't hit the mark of like I'm constantly thinking about it, but like I enjoy it within the context of the game. If I'm listening to it on its own, like I find the music very, very repetitive, which it's supposed to be. But in the context of the game, I love listening to it. But when you take it outside of the context, I don't enjoy listening to it as much. So I played Inscryption about 4-ish years ago. If you want to go check out my playthrough, you can on my YouTube channel. But I didn't end up listening to the soundtrack until much later. The soundtrack for Inscryption, it's really good. I would probably rate it probably a 6 or a 7 out of 10, and probably these numbers are going to change once I actually do a lot of these and kind of see like where things are shaking out. But I think my favorite tracks on there, well, track would be Death Card Cabin. So like, you know, the 13-minute theme of the game when you're in Leshy's cabin, the first segment of the game, but a lot of the other tracks are really, really good as well. The reason I give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10 is just because I don't find myself often going back to it, even though there are standout tracks on the album, specifically Death Card Cabin, and then Golly's theme is also one that I tend to get stuck in my head. Not the other ones, not so much, even though they are really good. I haven't listened to it in a while. And like one of the things I like about the soundtrack specifically is that since the game is broken up into 3 distinct sections, almost like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, each area almost has its own unique sound to the music, which kind of also helps to define all 3 sections of the game, which I really, really like. So yeah, I give Inscryption's score a 6 or 7 out of 10. Again, some of these, especially since these are very early on in my music scoring, will probably change once I start diving into more tracks, especially games that I haven't listened to the music for yet. Okay, we're getting to the point where there's no way I'm going to be able to reply to a specific comment regarding a game because there's literally no way I could search the comments to find the one that said Sable, but if you said Sable, this one's for you. So I started listening to the soundtrack a couple weeks ago, again on my commute to work, and finished it this weekend when I was getting groceries. I discovered this soundtrack through Discover Weekly on Spotify when it gave me the song The Ewer, the day version of that song specifically, and I really liked it, and I was thinking when I started listening to it for the first time of this seems like a fun game, maybe I'll give it a try in the future. Haven't tried it yet, but I do want to. And in between now and then, I had interacted with somebody who had the box set for Sable, and I was like, hey, bestie, what is this about? Tell me more. And they said they really liked the game, and they recommend it. It helped them through the grief they were going through at the time that they played the game, and it's a really beautiful game. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll keep that in mind for sure. One of the standout things about the Sable soundtrack is that depending on the area or region that you're in, I believe their areas or regions based on titles, they have both a day and night version, almost like in Pokemon where the routes in the later games have a both day and night cycle theme version, which they just changed the theme slightly. But in Sable, it feels like it changes them not dramatically and drastically, but enough that you can still figure out oh, it's this area's theme, but just a night version, but it's not exactly the same. Because that's my one gripe about the Slime Rancher soundtrack, which eventually I'll talk about, is that the themes between the day, night, and different variations sound very much too similar for my ears to be interested in listening to that track multiple times. I think honestly I would give Sable a 7 out of 10 just because I have never played the game, so I don't have an emotional attachment to it, and maybe I'll tier list that differently in terms of games I've played versus games I haven't played, because I feel like those are going to be difference makers when it comes to scoring games like that. But I really enjoyed it. It's definitely pushing me more to try the game at some point. And it's just chill vibes. It's super chill, but really good beats to them, especially the Ewer. The Ewer is my favorite track, I think. The day version, but the night version is also really good as well. Who knew video game music could get you through spreadsheet manipulation? And I'm not even referring to the spreadsheet I made for this series. I'm just referring to spreadsheets for work, because that's been my morning. I hope your morning has been better than that. This I don't think was requested as far as I've seen so far, but it is a game that I just recently finished, so I was like, I might as well just listen to the music and talk about it now while it's still fresh on my brain, and that is a game called Caravan SandWitch. It's a newer indie game, came out last year in September, and the music is pretty good, but it's not my favorite in the world. I personally give it a 4 out of 10. Some of the tracks are really good, the opening music that you hear when you're on the title page, and the title screen music when you're fully in the game and it shows the title screen. that type of thing, and the outro is really good. But the rest of it is just not my vibe, unfortunately. And part of it, some of the music feels really similar to one another, which makes sense, but it's hard for my brain to differentiate between each of the tracks in terms of what makes them different from one another, so it's hard for my brain to remember what they are. I will say though, the music kind of reminds me of Jasant a little bit, which is another indie game that I highly recommend you play if you haven't done so already, just because the titles of the tracks are in French, which I'm pretty sure for Jasant and Caravan SandWitch, the developing team is based in France. So I kind of like that. I think that's pretty cool. Also adds like a little bit of like a mystery of like, if you want to understand what the title is and how it relates to the game, you have to translate it from French to your language. There are some sung pieces, vocal tracks to this music, which are also in French, so if you want to understand to do lyric analysis, you have to translate it. But overall, I give it a 4 out of 10. It's not my favorite, but like there's a couple of standout tracks to me personally, and to be honest, I didn't really pay attention a whole lot when I was playing the game, because I played most of it off stream, how the music related to the game, simply because I wasn't listening to the music while playing it. I usually had a YouTube video up in the background, so I turned down the music so I could listen to the YouTube video. I think that also goes to show that I didn't really care much for the music to begin with if I was turning down the music, because I was just like, meh, it's okay. It's not my favorite in the world. There's definitely other acoustic albums I can think of, Outer Wilds, that definitely stuck with me much, much more. Okay, I'm gonna say something that may or may not be controversial, but the not OST tracks, so the not score, so everything from Old Gods of Asgard to the end chapter songs to Night Springs, from the Night Springs expansion, are bangers. They're so good. And then the actual OST is like a nothing burger to me personally. And I think it's because the soundtrack, the actual scored part, the score of Alan Wake 2 is very much more of a soundscape than it is like a soundtrack, if that makes sense. It's not like a big orchestral thing like the first game. It's more to match the vibe of you're in this dark place, physically, and there's weird shit going on, there's weird noises, go bump in the night, very much more on the psychological horror side of things, which it more feels like psychological horror than the first game. And my ears are very much little melody gremlins with their little grabby hands, and I need a melody. I need something to be able to hum and be like, ooh, I recognize that as a melody. And if I don't have that, my brain is like, doesn't exist. And this isn't to say that the sound design of Alan Wake 2 is bad. Au contraire. The sound design is fucking amazing. It's so good. And there's a reason why, like, it scares me to play this game beyond just like the jump scares flashing of people's faces on the screen and everything like that. But the sound design is just insanely good. And I just have a really hard time remembering any of the actual score of Alan Wake 2 beyond the themes that you hear from the first game, like Departure and like Bright Falls' theme and those themes, because those are established in the first game. And then when you get to the second game, it's much more of these soundscapes, as I'm referring it to. Where the star of the show for me is all of the written vocal tracks of music. So all of the end chapter stuff, the Old Gods of Asgard stuff, all of that, just for me, it's the best part musically of the game series. Like, I know there's a video somewhere, if you scroll back, you'll find it on my TikTok, of me kind of like hating on Herald of Darkness. after I had played it the first time, but that was mainly because I was frustrated at the fighting mechanics, which was kind of a through line for my entire playthrough, especially with how finicky the flashlight is on PC, but we know Remedy doesn't really do PC ports that well, which I really hope they improve on that, please. But the actual music of Herald of Darkness, whether it be the 3-minute version, the 30-minute version, or God forbid there's a 10-hour version somewhere out there, is phenomenal. It's so fucking good. And mad respect to Sam Lake for fighting to have that scene in the game. I've had to put my replay, my New Game Plus playthrough on hold just because I got really frustrated that it didn't save some of my progress because I overwritten that save file. Something happened, but now since I swapped PCs, I'm pretty sure that save file is long gone, so I have to start all the way from the beginning again, regardless. But I've been wanting to play that sequence again. I've been really wanting to, now that I can actually more or less digest what's happening, because I know what's going to come, gameplay-wise, I know what to expect, and actually just enjoy the music and enjoy the scene and the artistry that Sam Lake, the other developers, are giving to me on the screen. I also said this during my initial thoughts video after I played Alan Wake 2 for the first time, which you can go check out on my YouTube channel if you would like to, is I'm really sad I didn't actually get to listen to the words of Dark Ocean Summoning because I was busy fighting off the Taken surrounding me, and I didn't actually get to listen to the lyrics while I was actually in the fight for the first time, which made me a little sad. But Dark Ocean Summoning is also very top tier. We love Dark Ocean Summoning as well. Some of the end chapter songs are really, really good, like Wide Awake, banger. The other ones, not so much my favorite, but I understand musically and lyrically what they add to the story, and maybe at some point I'll do like a lyric analysis and like fully deep dive into like what all of this means, because as my one friend said, after she played the game for the first time, was playing it for the second time, she was like, oh, this is all foreshadowing everything. This is foreshadowing what is going to happen. I'm like, oh, that's such a cool touch. Like, I love that. That's so good. It's so creative, especially for a game where you know people are going to replay it multiple times. They're going to be trying to find the lore in the game. It really rewards the players to play it again and now get to hearing the lyrics again and be like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. This is a very long-winded way to say that Alan Wake 2's music is like kind of split for me because I can't rate them together. I have to rate them separately. The score for Alan Wake 2, I think gets a 2 or 3 out of 10 just because like there's nothing memorable for me. And if there is, it's themes from the first game coming back into the second game. And maybe like in a couple of like not really leitmotifs, but like moments in my head that I can think of, but like that's it. Meanwhile, all of the other stuff, so like Old Gods, end chapter music, solid 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. Like there probably doesn't go a month by before I'm like singing Dark Ocean Summoning in my car, or Night Springs, or Herald of Darkness, or Wide Awake being the 4 that I remember the most